Hey, this is Jonathan Toshnik. I got the question. I just discovered that someone else is using the same business name I have. I've never officially registered my name. What should I do? So I'm going to answer this question, but if you are considering picking a business name and registering your name, then this is something that you're going to want to watch. It's not solely about this specific question in regards to what should I do now that I've discovered someone else has my business name. So let me first answer that part of the question. And to answer it, I need to give you a little information about what I think is important in choosing a business name. So to start out, what I want to do is I want to pick a business name that's easy to remember. I prefer short names. This is kind of strange, but you need to be comfortable saying the name of your business. So, for instance, if you pick a business name and it just doesn't feel good, I don't. That would bother me because you're going to be answering the business now for years and years to come, or you're going to be answering the phones for years and years to come, and you're going to be saying that name every time you answer the phone. You're going to say, "Hey, this is Jonathan," and or with whatever the name of the company is. And if you don't like it, if you're not comfortable saying it, if it doesn't roll off your tongue, that's a problem, and I would consider finding a new name. If the name is confusing or hard to understand, if it's really long and it's hard to say, every time you answer your cell phone and say, "Hey, this is so and so with whatever your company name is," if it's really long and it makes for a long-winded greeting, I'd think about that. So consider how your name's going to be said, how it's going to be pronounced, if it'll be confusing, if there could be any confusion with other company names. That gets to my first point in regards to this question. Even if you go register your business name now and the other company that's using a similar name spelled differently, and let's assume they continue in business as well. So you both have continued in business. Your names are spelled differently. You have different legal organizations behind the name. So the incorporation itself behind the scenes is different. If that name is pronounced different but could be confused, that's very concerning. What if you build your company into something big and this other company running around in the marketplace starts doing some bad stuff? What if they get in legal trouble? What if they file bankruptcy? All those connotations could potentially be associated to you. That would be the first thing that would tell me, even if I could get this name, I probably want to go ahead and change my name to be careful. So this is another point when you're doing a check for a business name. So number one, I come up with something that I'm comfortable with, that's fairly short, that's easy to say, it's easy to remember, maybe it catchy, maybe it has a little bit of rhyme to it, something that's really easy for your potential clients to remember it. Then I'm going to go make sure I can get a .com on this name. So I don't want to get a .net, so I'm going to go to GoDaddy. I'm going to search and see if the domain name of my business name is available. I don't want a .net. I want a .com. If somebody hears your name and your name is Joe's Lawn Care, what are they going to do? So they're going to go to the web and they're going to type in joeslawncare.com. Odds are, if that doesn't work, then they're not going to type in joeslawncare.net, joeslawncare.biz, joeslawncare.info. Nobody does that. Everybody types .com, they can't find it, then they just go do a Google search and try to locate it. So I'm going to take a .com or I'm going to move on to a different name. Next, I'm going to run my name through the search engines. This is my prospective name. I'm going to run it through Yahoo and Google, and I'm going to see if there's anything that comes up already with this business name. Has there been a previous company by this name that went out of business, that was sued, that got in legal trouble, that has lawsuits against it? Is it associated to a term, a definition that could be something I don't want to be associated to? I'm just going to get a quick feel so that down the road, if I name my company this and my potential clients are searching on my company name, they're not going to find other stuff that reflects poorly on me. Or it's not such a common word that's going to make it very hard for me to get to the top of the search engine when they type in my business name. So that's something to think about. So again, if my name that I already have and I've been using, that I haven't spent a lot of money on to already market, is similar to somebody else in the marketplace, I'm going to change it for that simple fact, because it costs a lot of money to go try to get somebody else to stop using their name, or to overcome with marketing any bad information that they put out into the marketplace. So I think it's far easier to just go register a different name. Pick a different name, completely unique, using the techniques that I just described. Something that can't be confused. For instance, when you register your name, one of the things that I really encourage you to do when you're starting a business, and if you're an existing business and you haven't done this, you need to go incorporate. You need to create an entity, an LLC or a corp, like an S corp, and you need to incorporate your business. I like to use the corporation name that's going to also be my doing business as name. Technically, you could set up a entity called Joe's Lawn Care Inc. And then you could come up with a different name like Superscapes and use that as your DBA, your doing business as name, and you could register both the entity and then a DBA. You could do that, but it's easier to protect, I believe, if you can find and register your entity, your Inc. or your LLC, and use that exact name. So if you want to be Joe's Lawn Care, then register your company as Joe's Lawn Care and then just go by that name. That's the easiest way to do it. If you do that, then your next step is to trademark your name. And so you can go through the uspto.gov to do a trademark, or there's a number of other sites out on the internet that'll make that process a whole lot easier for you and will help you with the trademark. It's around $400. So again, if I've got a name that I haven't invested a lot in, I'm going to pick a different name that's not confusing with anyone else. I'm going to establish my entity to protect my personal finances and my family from lawsuits. It's very important to form an LLC or a corporation. Then I'm going to file a trademark for that name to protect that name federally from other people around the country using it. You might think you're going to be small now, and you may always be small, but it's very important to protect your name. So I would get a trademark on your name to try to protect it. If you've done none of this and you've really invested very little money in the name you already have, your clients do not buy from you because of the name of your business. They buy from you because of you, because of the company you are and what you do and your support and your service and your quality. So if changing your name, if you already have some clients, is not a big issue. If you have not spent a lot of money in the marketplace to gain name recognition, if you don't already have the .com on the name, odds are you really haven't invested that much in the business name you're using now. I'd change it. It's going to be a lot cheaper and a lot easier, and then I'd set up my new company and I would follow the steps that I just laid out and that I just described. So once again, I want a name that's easy to pronounce, that's not going to be confused with anybody else, a name that when searched upon doesn't bring up anything negative, a name that's easy for users to spell, for prospects to spell. If your name is something business, I don't register it as something biz, B-I-Z. Nobody's going to know to type in B-I-Z for business. Those kind of things, think about easy to spell, easy to pronounce. Don't pick difficult words that nobody can spell or often they spell wrong. Think about all that as you're picking your name. So I'm going to get the .com on that name. Once I've concluded that all that's fine, I'm going to register my name with someone like BizFiling. And what I mean by that is you're going to create an entity, an LLC or an S Corp, using that same business name. BizFiling is going to do a search. They're going to make sure you can get that as the name of your corporation. Once you have it, that's going to be the name you use in business. And once you've done that, then I recommend you file for a trademark and protect that name even further. So I would first do everything I talked about leading up to filing the corporation. There's no point going out and there's no point going out and getting a trademark before you can confirm that you can get that as your entity. There's no point in buying the domain name before actually domain names are so cheap, there's nothing wrong with paying the $10 and buying the names that you think you might want and then just letting those domain names expire later if you had 3 or 4 names you were trying to decide between. So from my experience, if you go through lawyers to do trademarks, you're talking about thousands of dollars. If you have a trademark that conflicts with another company, then you need to get into legal dealings where the lawyers are communicating with the other party to get them to sign off and say, yes, they have no issue